Hi. Are you gonna be my assistant today? Guys, she is such a great helper. Oh, I mean, what's going on, you guys? How's everyone doing? Happy Friday. Actually, it's the weekend, ready to party. Today, we're going to talk about travel tips 2.0. Yes, you heard it too. I made a video talking about some travel tips. I believe there were 7 of them a while back, like months ago. Don't know how many months, but I know a number of months. That was my dog. 2016 was a really big year for traveling for me. I went a lot of cool places, a lot of new places, and in my time I have come across some new tips for you guys that I figure, you know what? It's time I share them with you. So here is my 2.0 new version updated travel tips video. So number 1, you guys can see my phone, which is where my tips are. I'm gonna hide this. Number 1 is finding an app that works really well for finding cheap flights. As I mentioned in my last video, apps are really important for the airlines themselves, but there are some sweet apps that I had no idea existed until recently that are really great about finding really great deals, and they let you know when they come up. For example, Hopper. Hopper is an app that you can put in your location, where you want to go and where you're flying from. You put in your dates and it'll show up all of the flights that are there and for the current cost. Now, let's say that you're going from LAX to Orlando, just because that's the first thing that came to my head. You put in those dates, and what it'll do is it'll tell you, okay, well right now flights are $407, but Hopper predicts better prices in the future. You should wait to book. So what you do is you click watch the flight, and you wait, and Hopper will eventually notify you when there's a better deal happening. So it'll give you a little pop-up and say, oh, your flight from LAX to Orlando is now $273. That's a great deal, book now. As you guys may or may not know, I am engaged, and I'm getting married this June to my fiance, Rick, and we decided we are going to go to Europe for our honeymoon. We're gonna go to Italy and Greece, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, flights to Italy are going to be insane, especially because summertime is peak travel for Europe, and I knew, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get away with paying under probably $1,500 a ticket each flight. So I decided to use Hopper. I'm like, all right, well, you know, I might as well watch it and see if a sweet deal comes in. So I implemented my dates from LAX to Rome, and then out of nowhere, in the middle of my stream a few weeks ago, Hopper was like, your flights are down to $890. That's an amazing deal, book now. So I booked it right then and there. My total came out to just under $1,800 for both tickets. That's incredible. For international travel, 2 tickets round trip for me and Rick, that's a sweet deal. Now be careful with those, because devil's advocate here, I found out after the fact of when I booked it why it was so cheap, and lo and behold, classic Hayli move, I somehow managed to book us an 18-hour layover in Dallas on the way back. So go me. And ultimately, that's not a big deal because an 18-hour layover is worth it for the amount that we paid for the tickets, and we have friends who live in Dallas, so we'll be fine just hanging out with them for a little bit. But just make sure to read the fine print and pay attention, because sometimes you can get stuck in those deals without realizing it, like me. Number 2 is using Google Flights. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know what Google Flights is, it's the easiest thing ever. It's not anything like Hopper, except for the fact that it looks up flight prices for you. So what you do is really simple. Just go to Google and type in where to and where from. Literally type in LAX to Seattle, and the first thing that will come up will be a bunch of flights from a whole bunch of different airlines. I don't think all of the airlines are there. For example, I don't think Southwest is on there, but a whole bunch of other ones are, and it'll show you what's the cheapest flight, with stops, without stops, and you can scroll through them at your convenience to see, okay, well, rather than going through and checking each individual airline, I can just look on Google Flights. And the nice thing is that it doesn't book you third party. For example, sites like Kayak, Cheap Flights, those you book through their website, and that's really sketchy. I've done that a few times and had some really bad experiences. I'll talk about that in a second. Back to our original point, Google Flights is really awesome because rather than booking you through a third party website, they literally just send you to the right website and book it. It's really easy. Sometimes you have to book with 2 different airlines, which a lot of times people don't care about that. That's no big deal, but it's a really great way to save some money. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you do use Google Flights or any other travel website for that matter, please, for the love of everything that is holy, clear your cookies. Oh my God, I didn't even know this until recently, but if you keep checking on flights for anything, or even hotels, what they do is they automatically keep bringing the prices higher and higher every time you go back and look. If you clear your cookies, you won't have to worry about that, and it'll give you the actual price that is available. But just make sure you clear your cookies, otherwise you're probably gonna end up getting a really bad deal. Speaking of cheap travel, we're gonna talk about budget flights really fast. As number 3, Because budget flights can be really awesome, but at the same time, they have a very great ability to screw you over. For instance, let's talk about ones like Ryanair or Frontier or Spirit. These airlines get away with charging you these dirt cheap fares to get to and from by charging you $1 million for a check-on bag, or charging you $1 million to print your boarding pass, or charging you $1 million to have even a carry-on bag. For instance, they flew Frontier from, I think it was Denver to Cancun, and we had to pay like $35 each leg of the trip just for a carry-on bag. It was that bad of a deal. So even if a lot of times if a cheaper airline like Frontier or Spirit or any of those shows you cheaper prices, please read the fine print. Because a lot of times if you don't, you're gonna get to the airport, get on your plane, and realize that there was prices A, B, and C that were waiting for you that you didn't know about, which in reality, it probably would have been cheaper just to fly a more commercial airline like American Airlines or something similar, and end up paying the same price anyway for a better experience. So just keep that in mind. A lot of these budget airlines do have different rules along with them. For instance, Southwest. Southwest is probably my favorite airline, if I'm being totally honest with you guys. I love Southwest because they do a great job of having cheap fares. They give you 2 free checked bags. You don't have to pick your seat. It's just you check in 24 hours before, and earlier boarding passes, you can just go on and pick a seat. There's no change fees. You can cancel your flight for free and get your money back, or use it as a credit. Like, they're the most easygoing, easy to work with airline in the whole world. And I'm saying this because I just got back from Tahoe with Rick, visiting our friends Teresa and Craig, and we missed our flight by like an hour because the traffic out of Tahoe was that bad. And we were flying with Southwest, and here's something to keep in mind. When I was on the phone with them, I called them trying to figure out what to do. They were trying to charge me the difference in airfare to change my flight, which was gonna be an extra $200 a ticket. I'm sitting there like, no, don't do this. In reality, that's not a big deal, the difference in airfare. But I decided to say, you know what, okay, let's just wait. Rather than do anything over the phone, let's just get to the airport and see what they say. Well, thankfully, we got to the airport and said, hey, the traffic out of Tahoe was horrible. We missed our flight. And they say, okay, click, 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 click. Here's your new boarding passes. Here's the next flight. Changed our flights for free. So that was really convenient. So shout out to Southwest. I freaking love you guys. You guys are stay. Number 4, this is 8 fingers. Number 4, label everything. I feel like this is a video that is story time with Hayli rather than giving you travel tips, but here we go. Label everything. Your carry-on bag, your check bags, put luggage tags inside of your bags, because if they open it, maybe your tag fell off. Label everything. Even though I fly a lot, I somehow manage to do really dumb stuff. I don't know how I manage it, but I do. I was flying up to Oakland for, actually for my wedding. I was doing some wedding planning with my bridesmaids. So we were up in the area, and on our way back, I had just brought a carry-on bag. I didn't need to check a bag, it was no big deal. I was at the gate, had my wedding planner, my purse, and my rolling bag. And as I'm in line waiting to board the plane, Southwest again, I hear them say, you know, remember, you only get 2 pieces of carry-on luggage. And in my head, with my binder and my purse, I'm like, well, thank God I only have 2 pieces of luggage. How convenient. Forgetting my rolling bag entirely. I left my rolling bag at the gate. Literally. That was a freaking nightmare. I don't know how I managed to leave my bag at the gate. My stream is giving me so much crap for this already, but now I'm telling everybody on YouTube. Now you can all laugh at me too. It was a nightmare getting that bag back, because can you imagine TSA finding an unmarked bag just sitting at the gate in an airport? Like, oh my God, that was probably a mess. So it took me a few days of tracking down, me calling nonstop, calling Oakland Airport, calling TSA, calling baggage services, calling Southwest, finally lost and found, which took me like 17 times to call before they finally answered the phone. I see you, Oakland Lost and Found. Finally, they answered and they found my bag. And they could either mail it to me, which was gonna cost FedEx a couple $100 to mail it to me, or somebody had to come pick it up. So luckily, my bud Tyler at Twitch, because Twitch offices are in San Francisco, went and saved the day and picked up my bag for me and brought it down at BlizzCon. Yo, shout out to Tino's. MVP, dude. True bud right there. Moral of the story, don't forget your bag and make sure you mark it, because it would have been so much easier for me to get my bag back had it just had my name and my phone number on it, which it didn't, so go me. Next, we're gonna move on to a little bit of international discussion. We mentioned Cancun earlier, but we're gonna talk about global entry. In my last video, I told you guys about TSA PreCheck, which I finally got. Go me. In my last video, you guys probably saw, maybe you didn't see it, I don't know, I'm talking to you if you've seen both, but if you want to see it, you can click down below and watch it if you want. But in my last video, I talked about TSA PreCheck and the beauty and glory of it. I finally got that in a combination with Global Entry. Now what, pray tell, is Global Entry? Global Entry is this really awesome program that allows you to skip customs almost entirely, right? So you go to the Global Entry offices, there's a bunch of them all over the place in all major airports in the United States. You go in, you apply, TSA PreCheck is included with Global Entry. It's only like $15 or $20 more to get it, and it lasts for an entire year. They interview you, they take your picture, it takes 10 minutes. And what it does is when you come into the United States from another country, rather than waiting in line and speaking to an agent and having them quiz you about who you are and where you live and your nationality and your social security number and your banking number and your passwords and everything about you and your DNA, instead you go up to a kiosk and you scan it and they take your picture and you're done. And then you go to the Border Patrol agent, they take your slip, they stamp you, and they say have a nice day. It is the fastest thing ever. You skip the line entirely rather than waiting 2 hours to get home because you just flew an international flight and all you want to do is sleep. Instead, you can just skip it and go get your bag and leave and be happily ever after. It's so much easier. But tips on getting Global Entry, because I experienced this in the nightmare that is everything regarding the airport. My suggestion is to look into a multitude of different airports to get Global Entry done. For instance, my closest big airport is LAX, and I went to go book my date, and the closest one they had, mind you, I set this appointment in May. I think I set the appointment in May, and the closest appointment they had was in October. Instead of just booking at your local airport, if you have any flights coming up that maybe have a layover, or even if they don't have a layover, wherever you're going, see if any of those airports have any availability. So Rick and I were going on a cruise for our anniversary, and like that week, right? And I'm sitting there like, maybe I should just check like Miami and see if they have any availability. And sure enough, Miami was wide open. I had the entire day to choose from. It was the strangest thing. There were some airports, Phoenix, LAX, New Jersey, Newark, they all had insane wait times. It was, some of them were into 2017. And I'm like, dude, it's April, what are you doing? Lastly is to skip any and all third-party websites. Seriously, especially for hotels. If you look on the website themselves for the hotel, you'll often find that the price is either the same, if not cheaper. And if it's not, those hotels will actually give you a deal and say if you find a different rate that's better than ours, they'll match it for you. And that way you don't have to deal with any of the bullshit that comes with dealing with these third-party websites, because it can be a nightmare. If there's something wrong with your flight or your hotel, for instance, a lot of people use it for hotels as well. If you have a problem, you can't contact the hotel or airline directly. You have to contact Kayak or Orbitz or Cheap Flights, and yeah, that's really, really dangerous. For example, just a quick side story on that. I actually used, was it Kayak? I don't remember if it was Kayak or not. Hotels.com. It was one of those like Booking.com. It was a third-party website, right? I was last minute, super excited, decided to go to Cancun with my best friend Lexi. And we literally booked our tickets the night before. It was one of those spur-of-the-moment things that I'm always into doing. So I booked us our hotel. We got there super early in the morning. We got to our hotel and we waited and waited and waited and waited. And finally, once we got there and it was 7 a.m., people were checking in, the front desk people came up to us and said, yeah, sorry, we don't have a room for you. What? So apparently they managed to overbook their hotel somehow. They didn't have a room for us. So rather than dealing with the hotel directly, they said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. You used a third-party website to do it. You gotta contact them. I was on the phone with this third-party website for hours. I'm in a foreign country. I'm surprised I can even use my phone without racking up $1 million in long-distance charges or in international fees. I was panicking. I had no place to stay. I'm in a foreign country with my best friend. We're sitting there. We don't know anybody here. We don't know what we're doing. So that was a nightmare. Luckily, we got it all figured out. Thank God I was in Mexico rather than someplace like, I don't know, Thailand, where I wouldn't speak the language. But luckily it all figured out and it worked out beautifully, because that was really scary. Point of the matter is, don't use third-party websites. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new to my channel and enjoy me, myself, and I, and my content, and maybe my dog at the beginning of the video, hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys for checking me out. If you guys want to stalk me and check me out anywhere else on the internet, my Twitter, Instagram, etc., Twitch perhaps, I am HayliNic. So you can find me at HayliNic on any of those. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll try and make more content for you and not wait 3 months in between every video. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. So Good luck and happy traveling.